Hey everybody, this is Rook. Welcome back. We had some surprise news from Konami today. Wanted to go over some quick changes. Konami has implemented some erratas on these skill cards that are a huge problem in the format. Honestly, didn't think that Konami was going to errata anything. There's no ban list still, but they did significantly change some of these skill cards that have been pretty much the meta for the past year plus. And I really thought that they were going to wait until GX box and then maybe do something like this. But they're doing this right now, which is actually really, really great because the format has gotten a little stale while we wait for GX. And the fact that they've made these changes to these skill cards is actually going to shake things up a little bit, especially with the Speed Duel Showdown. This is hosted every week. So 3 skill cards have been changed, and there's some kind of general changes that we want to just cover. The Konami announced literally about an hour ago. The link that Alam has here, this is the Speed Duel League Discord. The link takes you to the YugiOhCard.com, where it has the full changes, the official news here. So following skill cards text has been updated. We are talking about Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, Inner Conflict, and Twisted Personality. Inner Conflict and Cocoon being some of the most annoying, meta-driven decks that we've seen in the Speed Duel format, and a Twisted Personality with the TP Warriors. So I'm just going to go down the line. I'm going to read the new text, and we're going to just talk about that a little bit and what that change means. So first, for the Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, it's activate one of the following skills during your main phase, but each can only be used once per duel. You can tribute one insect monster from either field equipped with an equip card, and if you do, special summon an insect monster from your deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So this still works the same way with Parasite Paranoid going into Moth, like we've always seen. The new text here is you cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this skill. Also flip this card over. So this essentially is denying you Double Moth. We were seeing Double Moth come out with Parasite being able to be tributed to get a Moth out of deck, and then if you had a Moth out of hand, one of Parasite Paranoid's effects is that you can special summon that from the hand if you had it in hand. So we're seeing Moth OTK with 2 Moths out. Now it is impossible to special summon another one after you've used this skill. So the Moth OTK is now gone, so that has been eliminated. So Cocoon is not completely hit, like it's unusable. You can still play Moth, but it's got rid of the OTK, which is great. It still has the, you can shuffle an insect monster from your graveyard and deck, then draw a card, flip the card over. So it still has the shuffle, which is really good, but it just eliminates Double Moth. So that's the new Cocoon text. I think that's going to make it a little more competitive for everybody. Inner Conflict, I really like the change they went with Inner Conflict because this is essentially what we were talking about, what needed to happen to this skill card in order to kind of kick it down a notch. Once per duel during your main phase, you can pay 2,000 life points and take control of a monster your opponent controls. So already right there, Inner Conflict was half your life points. So Inner Conflict players could get all the way down to like 400, 200 life points, and it doesn't matter because they just have to pay half to take a monster from you. So it was always good. The fact that it's 2,000 now, if you're an Inner Conflict player and you get below 2,000, you all of a sudden cannot use the skill, which becomes really, really difficult for the Inner Conflict player, especially since we were seeing Inner Conflict players try and use their skill kind of towards the end when they know they have the setup. So all of a sudden, if you drop under 2,000, you can't use it. That's pretty devastating for the Inner Conflict player. And also, the card that you Inner Conflict cannot attack directly or be tributed this turn. So you can no longer just take a monster and tribute it. So not only is it no longer half life points, it's 2,000 life points, but you can't tribute the monster, which kind of takes away a lot of Inner Conflict setup. You can still do something like the Apprentice Monarch, obviously because Apprentice Magician staying out serves as a tribute for you. But Inner Conflict Monarch got really hit here. Inner Conflict is essentially a worthless card now. I don't think people are going to use it. We might see some people still use it and find good situations with it. And I guess it could still be considered kind of generally good card, especially we saw some folks use Inner Conflict, you know, to get monsters out of the way so that you can attack directly. If you really wanted to do that, you could do that, but Inner Conflict more or less dead now. Last card change is Twisted Personality, which is one that we don't see as much as Inner Conflict or Moth in the current meta, but it's still a pretty good hit. This is each time you lose life points, place a counter on this card. So it was each time a player loses life points. It was either you or your opponent, but now it's just each time you lose life points. That makes a little more sense kind of with the Merrick, like sadistic, masochistic vibe. It's when you get hurt, you place a counter on it, and then it still has the same effects otherwise. Remove 2 counters, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Remove 3 counters, destroy a face-up card your opponent controls. So that's the same. The only thing that's changed in Twisted Personality is now it's when you lose life points, not when any life points are lost. So these 3 changes are going to significantly shake up. We're going to see less Moth. I don't think we're not going to see any Inner Conflict. TP will probably be the same. There are a lot of cards that we use. Like, you don't get the effects off Mask and Nightmare Wheel anymore, which is a pain, but like you can still have effects like Cosmic Cycle and things that you like proactively hurt yourself so you get counters. We might see some of that still. But I think that this is going to kind of pave the way for a new meta that's going to definitely cement XYZ unions. And we're going to see Spellproof Armor. I anticipate we're going to see some Thousand Eyes Restrict as well. And we're going to see more rogue decks kind of in that line popping up. Magnet Warriors, we've seen them do very well, even against these meta decks before the changes. King of the Skull Servants even was doing pretty well. So there's a lot of different... Oh, we saw Fairies last week too. They actually did pretty well. I think one of them had Inner Conflict in it though, so we're going to have to see how that works. But still, this is going to open the opportunity for a lot of kind of more roguish decks to go out there and a lot of people to kind of play around with and figure out what other decks are good instead of having to be trapped into, okay, I'm fighting against Inner Conflict Monarchs and a Moth. What do I have to do against that? It's also going to change out how you side, because a lot of side decks we saw consisted of, you know, things to counter Moth or Inner Conflict, but we might see some side changes too. I anticipate we're going to see more side changes towards XYZ Unions now. So we're still going to see your Lost Winds. We might see some defusions in there, but I really think XYZ Union is going to be a pretty strong deck with these changes. Not unbeatable, but it's going to be pretty strong. So there are also several new updates to skills. You know, Lamb lists a few here that are really important, and we actually saw a few of these kind of be ruled on in the last Extravaganza, especially with the Speed Duel main event. So skills are no longer considered a card effect. So if it says something like this card can't be targeted by card effects, skills are no longer considered a card effect. Skills that don't specify an activation timing can only be activated during an open game state in your main phase. Okay, that one sounds pretty much in line with what people have been doing with cards like Inner Conflict or Cocoon. And fast effects can be activated after a skill card resolves from now on. This one is huge because we were always arguing about, for example, if an XYZ Union player uses Union Combination to get a fusion monster, or XYZ Dragon Cannon, you then want to Book of Moon it, or maybe equip it with a Parasite. It was considered that you were responding to the skill and you cannot chain to the skill. However, now it clearly states that fast effects can be activated after a skill card resolves. So as XYZ Dragon Cannon hits the field, you have the option to activate a quick effect like a quick play spell or a fast effect like Parasite. So that is very clear, and that is that's a pretty decent change. It could clear it up. It cleared things up that we wanted to clear up. Some people aren't going to be happy with that. Some people are. I think that that's fine. I'm glad that that's cleared up. And if we go to the main site where these changes are listed, obviously it's the same exact thing that was listed and outlined kind of in that Discord page. We have the Cocoon hit, the Inner Conflict hit, and the Twisted Personality hit. The site also then goes on to kind of reminding you how skill cards work, which is where we see some of these clear clarifying changes. And it also says get ready for the GX box with 20 brand new skill cards. And it's great to see that, you know, with these erratas, they are keeping this in mind to not make anything too broken in the GX box, I'm hoping. So I think that this is a good, healthy change, and I like that they implemented it right here November 1st. It's effective immediately. So that's kind of right in the midpoint, or it gives us like a good 3-4 months before GX box so that we can kind of play around with these changes, and it kind of breathes a little more life into the format as we wait for the new things. So it just goes on to explain skill cards, and that's more or less the page. Now, there were a few other things that were announced with this announcement. We do see Tournament Pack 3 coming. That's going to be released in March of next year and will include errated text versions of Cocoon, Inner Conflict, and Twisted Personality. So if you are playing on the kitchen table and you don't want to remember, eventually we're going to get copies of those skill cards where it has the correct text. For a site like Dueling Book, we can see that updated pretty much immediately whenever they want to update that. And you know, in a big community like the Speed Duel League, obviously we all kind of understand the changes and they are in effect immediately. So there's a lot of, like, I wouldn't try arguing with a random person online about these changes, especially if it hasn't changed over in the text yet. But for something like the Speed Duel Showdown for the Winnaboxes here in the Speed Duel League, we are going to see those effective immediately. Speed Duel Showdown tonight, November 1st at 8 o'clock Eastern, will be using the new skill text. So we are going to see some different decks and hopefully some meta shakeup here. And I hope to use the Speed Duel Showdown in the weeks to come as kind of a good playground for people to try out new decks in a competitive level to see what really is starting to work here. So this is really exciting. And I'm glad that it's funny that this came through on a Monday, about an hour ago, so 8 hours to prepare for the showdown, but hopefully everybody have enough time to prepare your decks. I'll include that link in the description below again if you want to sign up to participate. That is the update with the new skill erratas, skill rules, and new tournament pack. Hopefully you guys found this useful. I'm sure this information's already been plastered everywhere, and you see your other favorite Yu-Gi tubers getting some videos out on this, but want to make sure everyone is aware the showdown will include these new changes tonight, and we're going to see this moving forward. So hopefully, if you kind of got turned away from the Speed Duel format because you don't want to play Moth all the time, you might not see Moth as much anymore. So, you know, welcome back. Please come back in. Magnet Warriors are okay, right? Fairies are good. We can see some other decks like that. Hope you guys have a great day and hope to see you tonight at the showdown. See ya.